Welcome back, everybody. I have an incredible guest today. This person is one of my role models. I have been following her on Facebook and social media for at least a year and noticing the work that she does to transform lives. And obviously, if you want to become better, you got to hang with people above you. So that is always my goal. And clearly, I have found somebody who can role model that. So I wanted to bring on, in the spirit of the words that we speak to ourselves and the spells we cast on ourselves, an amazing public speaker and coach, Gail Keys Allen.
Oh, that's
Yay!
what a great intro. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, it's true. So,
Uh,
how are you today?
Amazing. Amazing. I,
That's
I
good.
say I'm a sunshine girl. So when the sun is shining, I'm just fabulous.
I totally agree. Although, I mean, I do like cold weather, but I get what part of the planet are you in right now?
I'm in Maryland.
Okay. Okay. So you
It's
definitely get four seasons.
yeah, but it's been yesterday 80. I think it's supposed to be 80 today. So this is my kind of weather.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to dive right in. I have three big questions that I ask my guests on the podcast because I find them to be the most effective questions. So, the first one is I'm going to ask and then stop talking because I really want to give you the floor. I would love to know, what is your origin story? Meaning, for those of us who are not superheroes, what is it specifically that got you? Where did you start? How did you end up where you are? And if anything, what words or phrases might have played a part in that? But just tell us about you.
Oh, that's a long story. But
I'm sure it is.
yeah, I'll try to make it more condensed. When you said my origin story, the first thing that came to my mind was that I came from a strong Black woman. Like my mama was a strong woman. She was
Amazing.
she was born in 1923,
Oof. Oh
but
my
she
gosh.
thought she thought outside the box. So um, my mom had four kids back to back, four kids in 4 years. I'm the oldest.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Give that woman a medal.
Yes, she did. She had actually had two miscarriages before me. And then so
Oh,
when she had
wow.
me, it was like, yay, I finally got one that made it. But
Oh,
she
wow.
was a, she was a rule breaker. So my mom, when I was around 11, decided to leave my dad for another man because they were having an affair.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a really interesting story, but I'll make it concise. But
I'm here
he
for it.
we don't think about that stuff happening now because they didn't have social media. They didn't have all the things, that
Yep.
we have now.
Yep.
But the man she was having the affair with was like her love of her life. And he had asked my grandparents, could he marry her? And they said no. They were from a small town and the family
Um,
were like back, I don't know. Anyway, my grandparents said no. So
okay.
because he came to them, and so he broke up with my mom. She didn't know that her parents said no. And
Oh,
later, he ended up marrying someone else, and my mom ended up marrying my dad. But then I guess love prevailed because literally, once my parents separated, I was 11. My mother and her boyfriend were together till she died, and she died at 86.
wow.
And she was paralyzed for 9 years from a spinal cord injury
Oh my God.
in a nursing home. I have some crazy stories,
Sounds
but
like it.
but he came to visit her regularly. He came, brought her flowers, candy, all the things, the holidays. And before my mom passed away, she had told me that she was ready to go. She was tired.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
told her, it's okay,
Yeah.
which I'm surprised I even said that because I don't even know where it came from. But she said she wanted to go to the church that she belonged to,
Hmm.
which was like an hour and a half away
Right.
from where the nursing home was.
Hmm.
And I told her, you can't do that. You're paralyzed. Well, she told her friend, her boyfriend, they like he split up with his wife, whatever, but they never got married. They were together. Um,
Okay.
she told him, and he hired a private ambulance, a private nurse, and had my mother at that church
Oh
talk
my
to the minister.
gosh.
They devoted that day to her name is Mary Keys, and they devoted that day to her. And
Wow.
probably 6 months later, she passed away.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
start with that story because that's what I come from. Like I come from a strong woman who was paralyzed but still smiling,
Hmm.
like
And determined.
very determined. And so
Wow.
that's where my determination comes from. That's where my strength comes from. And when
Amazing.
things get tough, I always say to myself, what would Mary Keys do?
Ooh.
And so I got married. I'll skip
Mhm.
on. I went to college, got
Right.
married, um, and I had a child that was born 14 weeks early. So I was 26 weeks pregnant when I had my daughter.
Wow.
Weighed
Wow.
2 pounds, one.
So just to be clear for those who are not reproducing human beings, 14 weeks early is more than 3 months early,
Yeah.
where there is so much development that the infant does not yet have. It is seriously questionable whether they will survive.
Oh, totally. They called
Wow.
me 2 times and said, your baby's dying. Come
Oh
to
my
the hospital.
God. Oh my God. How
She
did
was,
you survive?
yeah, that's my whole point. Yeah. She was on a respirator, had chest tubes, all the things.
Oh
But
my gosh.
this girl was 35 years old now with a 4-year-old.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I have
Wow.
miracles in my house.
Yeah, you do.
So that's what I come from. I come
Mhm.
from hard times, but lots of joy. I
Oh,
end up finding out my husband, I was married for almost 20 years. We were together 24. Found out he was having an affair.
oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, she was living in our rental property.
Oh, no.
I can laugh now.
I mean, obviously now because it's
I
over.
thought
I
I
hope it's
was
over.
going to lose my mind at the time.
Oh, yeah. And somebody might have lost their life. That's all I'm
And
saying.
I left out one piece that the year before that, I had a brain tumor, which I had
What?
surgery. I had back surgery for a herniated disc, and I had my thyroid removed. They thought I had thyroid cancer.
Oh, my.
We've only been talking like less than 10 minutes. Um,
Wait. Hold up. So you had life changing surgery and a brain tumor, and the guy cheated on you with the person in your rental property. Oh, my. Okay.
isn't this
Wow.
from the TV talk show or something? Jerry
I know.
Springer.
Wow. But
Uh,
here you sit anyway.
that's why I want people to know this because there's somebody that's going to listen to your podcast that is going through something challenging.
Yep.
And I want them to know that they can survive.
Absolutely. I like to tell people that, wherever you are, whatever's happening, you have a 100% success rating because you're still here.
Yeah.
Even
So
if it's not the success that you wanted or the way that it looks the way that
totally,
you wanted, you still have a 100% survival rate. And
totally,
that's a huge accomplishment.
totally. And
So,
so
wow, that's a hell of a story. How did you get into coaching as that is now what you do?
yeah. Um, I left my husband. We sold the house, all the
Rightly
things.
so.
I, I had this big, beautiful house in the suburbs, sold the house, and I literally went on a spiritual journey. I
Ooh.
don't know if you know who Iyanla Van Zant is.
Oh, heck yeah. I love me some Iyanla. Oh, wow.
Well, I
Amazing.
went to my first spiritual retreat for a weekend with Iyanla in 1996, and that was before my divorce. And I think it was hard already getting through it, but what I learned and the support that I got, um, working with her that weekend and her people helped me so much. And after that, I did some other courses with her. Actually, I've done two spiritual retreats with her. So I loved that's kind. She was kind of like the first coach I knew about, and
Mhm.
then all over I heard about coaching, but I didn't think that I could be a coach, even though I wanted to help women because I had been through so much. I knew that I had
Right.
a lot to give. And literally, it took me 12, 13 more years before I became a coach. More,
Wow.
maybe more than that. Well, before I went through certification. And I went through certification during COVID. So,
Same.
oh, okay. So during COVID, like over COVID, I was working from home and I decided to get certified.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things that happen in between, but
Of
basically,
course.
I was on my job. The job that I got after my divorce was as an accountant for a law firm because
You do
I
not strike me as an accountant, ma'am. That is all I'm going to say.
it was not. You know why? You know why I took that job? Well, I have a degree in economics,
Oh my,
and that
and she has a degree in economics. Okay.
I
There's so
had.
many layers here. I'm loving this.
But the thing about it is, I wanted to be an artist and a writer growing up, and I was
Mm.
told, "You won't make any money. You need to do something." Yeah, you
Hmm.
need.
I've heard that.
So I majored in business and got a degree in economics and hated it
The safe thing. Yeah.
every minute of it.
Yeah.
I did take English courses and loved them, but I still didn't have the confidence to pursue it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't working after my brain tumor, but when I found out that my ex, it was literally like 8 months after the brain tumor, um, I
Wow.
got a job and I needed a job that paid well where I could
Yeah.
take care of my daughter because
Yeah.
here I am going to be a single parent.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I stayed on that job for 16 years. 16 years.
You're
What?
committed.
That's the only job I ever committed to. I used to be a job hopper,
Interesting. Okay.
but I didn't hop because I needed some stability.
Right.
As a single mom, I needed stability. And I
But that
didn't
was a choice that made sense for you in the moment.
right. Yes, totally. And I emotionally, I felt like I lost everything. I had to start all over again.
Oh, yeah.
So the job brought stability.
Right.
I didn't, I mean, I was grateful for it, but
Right.
it wasn't me.
Of
It
course. It sounds like it. So then you were doing that 16 years and then you switched and became a life coach.
right. So over COVID, I started getting coached a lot myself.
Mm,
Decided, and this is what how I made the decision to get certified.
mm.
Got coached by someone, and I told her that I really wanted to get certified, but the school that I wanted to get certified by at the time cost 18,000. And
Whoa.
yes, and I told her, I said, I'm getting older. I can't justify spending 18,000 on a certification.
Yeah, no kidding.
She said, what if your certification and your business was your retirement plan?
Oh, okay.
That's what
Okay.
I said.
Ooh,
It, it,
okay.
and she was older. She had retired from teaching,
Hmm.
certified. So I think she was like in her early 70s.
Wow. That
And
is a reframe of reframes. Hello.
yes.
Wow.
And when she said that to me, I was like, done. Took half of it out of my 401k and paid payments on the other half and got certified over COVID. And went through all the mind drama. While I was in certification, I was
Mhm.
also in therapy because George Floyd had been murdered during that time.
I
And
remember.
I was in a cohort of, like, I'll just say it the way it is. Most of the women in there were wealthy white women in my cohort. Owners,
Awkward.
yeah. And then I had to get coached every week. And then the thing that I want to get coached on is George Floyd and being Black and all the emotions, but don't feel safe getting coached in that container of strangers that I don't know that they would understand.
Yeah,
So
it must have felt very foreign.
uh, I felt like I was back in elementary school or something.
Like with the Mean Girls table, like the
Yes.
clicky. Blah, blah. Yeah.
And actually, my instructor felt like a mean girl. So, yeah,
Did she make you wear pink on Wednesdays? Like,
no,
Gross.
Um,
I remember that whole month, the month of May. It was horrific. And me being a white woman is, but at the time in my corporate life before I became a coach, I also got certified during COVID. But I remember as soon as May rolled around, I had been doing work within my ERG within the corporation, the employee resource group for the LGBTQ employees. And I got tapped by the African American ERG to assist with a corporate wide 60,000 employee program the month before of how to discuss Jedi in general. For those who don't do Jedi, it's justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And how to discuss it in an environment that is predominantly dominated by white men, because it was the telecom industry. And then Mr. Floyd of blessed memory passed, and suddenly everyone in the C-suite was losing their minds, and they were like, you need to do this now, you need to do this now, we don't have any paperwork, we don't have any plans, we don't have any classes, do it now anyway. And it was so overwhelming, and I was safe in my privilege. I can't imagine how awful it had been for you.
it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
So what
But
was the outcome? Did you end up getting the certification that you wanted, that
I,
you spent so much money on?
I did. I mean, everybody was kind to me. It wasn't like
Okay.
someone was
Okay.
mean to me. They were
Okay.
kind to me, but in my mind, they couldn't relate
Of
to my.
course. Of course not.
And so I went in therapy, which was, I mean, I've been in therapy before, but it
Mhm.
was first, the other piece too is my story is so crazy. My best friend died in April of COVID, and she
Oh,
was the first person I knew to have COVID. I've been friends with her since middle school.
oh my gosh.
Actually, this month is the anniversary of her death.
Oh, may her memory be a blessing.
I just wrote on her Facebook page yesterday that I missed
Oh
her.
man. It was such
Because
a hard time.
yeah, it was really challenging. So I don't mean to bring to be a downer, but I mean
No, I love feeling the feelings. It's good. It's good.
that's that's my life, right? That's my life.
Now, for those viewers who have conveniently for or listeners who've conveniently forgotten that COVID was only 3 years ago, this
Yeah,
amazing human in front of me has completely turned her life into something unrecognizable.
yeah,
Like, that is insane, y'all. So now you coach full time. What kind of coaching do you do? What's your niche?
I do money and business for midlife women. Mostly, I help women decide if they want to leave their jobs, and if they want to leave their jobs, help them build a coaching business. I'm leveraging their experience.
Oh,
And
nice.
so many women have issues around money that I've ended up talking more about money than business, actually. And
Hmm.
I'm not a business coach that teaches a lot of strategy. You can
Hmm.
learn all of that. The way that I work with clients is I help them become the person they desire to be. So this is more
Hmm.
inside out,
Right.
changing from the inside, because I can teach you all the skills,
Right.
but if you don't believe you can do it, if you're afraid to show your face on social media,
Yeah.
if you are afraid to sell, you can't have a business.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's true.
to backtrack a little bit,
Yeah.
I ended up quitting my job in 2021.
Hmm.
Um, May 20, in fact, it's almost that anniversary. May 2021. In 2022, I tripled my corporate salary,
Oh
which
my gosh.
blows my mind. Then in 2023, I was so burnt out, I like put the brakes on
Hmm.
and had to slow it down and come back to me, because
Mm,
I realized that the way I made that money was so much like corporate. It
mm,
felt like corporate. It was the energy I had been in on my job. It was almost like I left one job and went to the other, but I was running it.
but you
I,
stayed in the same building.
right, the body, the building.
Yeah.
Um, and this is the other thing that happens, and nobody warned me about this. when you change as a person, because I did change dramatically, the way I think,
Mhm.
I carry myself. I mean, I traveled a lot. I did a lot. I talked about money. It triggered a lot of people that knew me for years. And I lost like three really good friends. Um, like one of them told me straight up, I can't be friends with you anymore.
Wow. Okay.
I I was shocked, but she said, "You're successful," and basically it was triggering her. And she said she couldn't be happy for me.
Oh my, wow. So
And
on the one hand, it's incredibly disappointing, and on the other hand, it's refreshing that she's being honest.
yeah, right.
That's
But
very interesting. That's very interesting.
um, another one is a good friend from college. I met her when I was 19, but I'm not the same person.
Yeah, of course.
The things we used to discuss, I don't talk about anymore. Like I really have transformed.
You've evolved.
I don't gossip about people, and I don't want to sit on the phone all day and blah 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 blah. And people don't like that, you
No.
know, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
But I can't be true to me and have and keep elevating,
Yeah.
live like that.
Yep.
So anyway, it pissed some people off.
I heard somebody say once that if you're not pissing somebody off, you're doing it wrong. So I
Yeah,
just keep falling back on that.
yeah.
But wow, what an origin story. Okay, so that's amazing. I would love to ask you my next question because it does segue in. I'm
Mm.
curious about what are some of the, again, because I'm obsessed with words. Um, what are some of the words and phrases that you heard growing up that you carry with you still, for good or for bad? Phrases that make sense or don't make sense that you realized, oh wow, this is holding me back, or this is what I really needed to hear. Are there any special words or phrases?
I'm trying to think of a phrase. Like, okay, my mom, and I do think about this sometimes. She used to say, "You're mad or you're sad. Well, then scratch your ass and get glad."
Ooh, okay.
So in my house, you weren't really allowed to have emotions.
Mm.
It was almost like we don't have time for this. Seriously.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the idea that life is so short. Like you you have to evaluate whether you have the energy to have a feeling right now.
But then the damaging part of it is I never was allowed to feel my feelings, and I didn't have words
Right.
to explore it or
Yeah.
express it.
Yeah.
Um, all I had was, I'm fine,
Mm.
fine, I'm okay, I'm all right.
So
You know,
did you find that that phrase would immediately have you shut down?
oh, totally, totally.
Interesting.
I
And so
spent,
the reflex would be a different statement, which is I'm fine.
yeah, I spent
Interesting.
many years shut down.
Wow.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's true.
And when I was in certification, part of how I coach has to do with how are you feeling?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? How are you feeling?
Right.
I didn't have feeling words.
Yeah.
I still am, and most people don't. Like
True.
literally, we
True.
have to pull out a feeling wheel, and it's like, where
I
is
was
it?
just going to say that. If anyone needs a copy of the feeling wheel, check my social media and my website. I promise it'll be there for you.
Yeah. So that was really big for me to learn how to express my feelings,
Mm-hmm.
but then feel my feelings.
Mm,
So it's one thing to say I'm disappointed or I'm frustrated or whatever, but how does it show up in your body?
yes.
What do you do when you feel that way, or what are you not doing when you feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's been a journey that I'm still on, sitting with the feeling, exploring the feeling. When I want some candy, why do I want candy? Do I want candy because I like the taste of chocolate, or do I want candy because I'm stressed?
Mm.
So,
So So
Um,
finding the feeling physically, somatically, and then pairing it with the emotion word.
totally.
So it's interesting. There's actually a condition that defines what you're describing. I don't know if you've found it or not. It's called alexithymia. It is
No.
an actual thing. I can send you the spelling because it's Greek, so it's long.
Yes, please.
But it's called alexithymia, and it is literally the inability to articulate a feeling word with a body feeling, and sometimes just one or the other, or sometimes both together.
Okay.
And it tends to present more in men and it tends to present more in the autism spectrum, but it is more of a socialized disorder where if you have a culture with strong, emotionally intelligent people, it tends to present less. And
Mm,
so it can be incredibly difficult because then you have all of these sensations that you may not even recognize exist because you're divorced from the neck down.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
But you think about it, like I said, my mom was born in 1923.
Yeah.
And neither one of my parents even graduated from high school. My
Okay.
dad left school when he was in the eighth grade. My mom left in the 12th grade, highly intelligent.
Right.
There were eight kids, and she left school to help.
Yeah.
So um, I
She did what
come
she had to do.
I come from, a generation that's experienced a lot of trauma.
Of
We
course.
didn't, they didn't know it was trauma. They didn't know that there's generational, we used to say generational curses.
Yeah.
And even my daughter asked me one time years ago, like, is our family cursed? Like, because there's been so many like crazy things when I start telling my story, and
Yeah.
I told her, no, we're not. Um, but I feel like what I'm doing and how I'm showing up now is changing the trajectory of my family.
I think you are absolutely right. I think you're, and it's amazing to me that you use the word curse just because it's sometimes it not maybe not as much now, but it used to be a ubiquitous term. Like my family's cursed, my love life is cursed, my career is cursed, my bank account is cursed.
Yeah,
And it conjures up so much malevolence and so much darkness and so much powerlessness
totally.
when in
Yeah,
reality, when we shift from curse to trauma, it takes the mystery out of it. and
totally,
then and then you have the double-edged sword. It's a requirement that you participate in the resolution of that. And
totally.
that's with a curse, you're like, oh well, too bad, it's
Yeah.
out of my hands.
And I would say when I was younger, I definitely, for a long time, felt that way. That it
Right.
was like, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
That, that's what I'm born into almost.
Right.
We have so much say in the direction that our lives go,
Ooh, ooh, I'm
a
writing that
lot
down.
of power in that.
150%. We do. And I mean, we don't have any control over what's happened, but we do have control over what we do with it.
Totally.
So
How
wow.
we respond to what happened. We
Mm-hmm.
always have a choice in how we respond.
I
And I
completely
would
agree.
say that even though a lot of crazy things have happened in my life, obviously I responded in a positive way
Well,
and
clearly you have.
did not give up.
That's amazing.
There's no quit in me.
Mm, mm. I, it sounds like that's something that you say to yourself sometimes. There's no quit in me. Is that
Totally,
one of those things that you say that helps you reframe?
totally.
I love that. Because that was
I
going to be my next question. What's some of the stuff that you use now?
and I will not
Um,
give up. I will,
mm,
and this is the other thing I say too. I grew up in the church, but I am not a religious person, but I am very spiritual. And
mhm,
we say, God saved me from so many things. Like I
mhm.
told you all this,
Miracles,
and that's
miracles.
not even everything, right?
Right.
Um, so I always say, if he did it before, he could do it again. So
Yes, exactly.
if I got over that hump, I can get over this one. If I got over that, if God stepped in, gave me grace, whatever, it will happen again. It will happen again. Um,
I
so
love that.
that's kind of like my mantra.
Mm. So if you had to put the mantra in a sentence, what would you say your sentence is? Because maybe there's someone out there who needs a mantra.
Yeah, what would the sentence be? I guess like when you're going through challenging times, use your past as evidence that you can survive because you're here today.
Oof. Use your past as evidence that you can survive.
Yes, because a lot of people want to use their past as evidence they
I'm writing
can't.
that down. Wow.
Like a
Use your
lot of people,
past as evidence that you can survive.
yeah,
Wow.
because you're here.
Yeah, because you have a 100% success survival rating.
Yeah. So a
Amazing.
lot of times people say, well, this happened to me in the past and that happened to me. And what if it happens again? So what? You already then you're an expert now if it
Oh my
happens
gosh.
again.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have to tell you a funny, not funny, but an absolutely perfectly aligned story that goes with that. And it was, what is it, April now? Yes. So a year ago, I had a baby in March. And she was born, thank God, healthy, everything was fine. 3 weeks later, my husband, who was the primary breadwinner, um, lost his job. His company collapsed partly in response to the Silicon Valley Bank thing that happened that most people have forgotten about. And within 3 days, they laid everyone off. And we
Oh,
lost our health insurance. We lost everything. I have a 3 week old baby who was born 2 weeks early.
oh,
And we were distraught and we immediately gravitated to our faith and we prayed on solutions, and eventually, obviously, God took care of us. We ended up selling our home and moving to Ohio, and we found an amazing community and people have been wonderful to us. And all in all, we've you know it's, I don't want to say failed up, but like we collapsed and now we've built back better.
yeah.
So that to say that now, this past March, a month ago, after looking and looking and looking for a job, he finally got one in February, and he was so excited, and he was right around back the same income and everything.
Mhm.
And because of a series of issues that had happened, it was the week anniversary of when he first lost his job. And then this second job, they let him go.
What?
And eventually we figured out what had happened and there was not a lot of solution. So, they parted ways.
Mhm.
But literally, I looked at him after I like was dumbfounded and my brain exploded. I looked at him and I thought, well, we've done this before. So we
Yeah,
know now what to do. So
yeah,
that's a plus.
yeah,
And you're completely right. Like, every failure teaches us success.
totally.
It's so amazing and it's so
One
powerful, but it's a hard reframe.
Yeah, one of my mentors says that success is built on a pile of failures.
Success is built on a pile of failures. Oh, I'm writing that one down because that one is amazing.
Yeah, and it's true. You think
Yep,
about it. You cannot step out and do something different without failing.
absolutely. I
You
always expect to suck at everything first.
right, but we all do.
Yep, we
We
do.
all
We do. And you're so awesome. You just jumped through each of the questions I was going to ask you without even knowing. But I wanted to pick your brain a little bit in
mhm,
terms of, we you mentioned your mantra was using your past as evidence of why you can survive, and I think that's incredible advice. And I was curious, with the women that you coach, the women whose lives that you transform, are you using any of these phrases in your work? Are you using any like key terms or things that you notice that they bring to the table that you have to help them erase and replace with something better?
well, I definitely talk to them about using the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I tell almost every client is until you fall madly in love with yourself, you are going to struggle, especially in business, but really in all of life. And that doesn't mean And there's a difference between in love and love. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I had one client say to me, well, I love myself, but I can't say I'm in love with myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say most people bring to the table, that it's like, okay, I care about myself, whatever. But are you in love with yourself? And I use this as an example. If somebody
Yes,
like
please.
people are afraid like to get online because they're like, what if somebody leaves a nasty comment? Or what if somebody calls me a name or whatever? And I'm like, okay, so what if they do? If you're in love with yourself, you would laugh it off. You would
Mm-hmm.
say, there must be something wrong with them because I am a fabulous, amazing person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beautiful, I'm amazing. But when you aren't in love with yourself and you feel like you need to be fixed,
Mm.
you're going to play right into it.
Ooh. So for you, are you correlating being in love with yourself as not needing to be fixed, air quotes?
Totally.
I
Totally.
love that. I love that. So how would you define somebody who, like, could you give an example of what it means to be in love with yourself versus just loving yourself,
Yeah.
other than the comment part?
Um, all the way you treat yourself and the decisions you make all center around trusting and loving yourself. Because if somebody doesn't trust and love themselves, they make desperate decisions a lot of times.
Ooh, okay. That's a very strong word. What does a
I,
desperate decision look like, smell like, feel like?
yeah, I call desperate decisions made from emotions.
Mm,
When you're so caught up in your head, and it's like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I don't know. What should I do? I'll make a list. Like I used to work with someone that would always make a list of pros and the cons and which one outweighs it. No. What
instead of
about
just going with her gut.
exactly? I was going to say intuition or your
Mm-hmm.
soul.
Yep.
Yeah. So that to me, I call it desperation moves. And I've
Yeah.
made desperation moves.
Well,
I
yeah, you're
can,
human. You're human. It
yeah,
happens.
right. But now that I know better, I do better.
Mm. Thank you,
I
Dr.
didn't
Angela.
I didn't know,
Yes.
right? I didn't know. And so that's why I said in business, I don't teach a lot of strategy. Like
Right.
I'll teach you strategy, but then I will coach you through the resistance. Because what happens is when you give people strategy, a lot of times they don't want to do what's necessary to grow their business.
No,
It,
no, they don't.
no, it's uncomfortable.
Yep. And
And we
people
don't
don't
want,
like to be uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
So you coach them to feel into the discomfort and you make a correlation between that and being in love with yourself.
totally.
I
Because
love that.
or and the love and the trust of yourself go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. It does. It
When you
does.
love yourself, you trust yourself and you trust your decisions.
Mm. I agree with you completely. I have some worksheets that I give to my clients of tiny micro goals that they can create for themselves to practice trust, to create trust maybe where there wasn't ever trust before.
Mm,
Because I wasn't raised to trust any of my own decisions. I was raised to constantly second guess myself. So I would literally like, I coach people now to, walk into a grocery store and turn left and be okay with the decision that you made and you turned left. What did you see? What did you notice? Who did you run into? And commit to that. Or what did you order for lunch? Know that you're ordering only what you wanted and that you're committing to that order, whatever it may be. And if it turns out it tastes like crap, tell the waiter and be brave and commit to that statement. And it's
totally.
so scary for people sometimes.
I see that. But I practice those things naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't for myself, I don't like getting too caught up in the same habits that keep me being the same old person
Right.
or in the same place because it starts to feel boring and you
Mm-hmm.
start to feel stuck. And
Yes.
then people wonder why they don't like their lives. But I say when you are bored and you're doing the same thing all the time, it's like having a EKG and you flatline. Like
Ooh.
your life is like instead of like and I usually draw up for my clients. But when you don't go in the grocery store and just go a different way, or go to a different store that you
There
never,
you go. There
or
you go.
drive a different way than you normally go, right? I live in Maryland, right? I'm literally 30 minutes from DC and 30 minutes from Virginia.
Oh, wow.
My daughter and I will hop in the car and go into Virginia to Whole Foods. There's a grocery store 5 minutes from my house. I
Hmm.
could go there, which I
Hmm.
do sometimes, but sometimes I'm like, let's go to Whole Foods or let's go to Trader Joe's. Why do I need to go to the same grocery store every time?
So you really believe strongly in forcing yourself into new and different circumstances
Yeah,
and to glean whatever you can out of it.
totally.
I love that. That's
I,
constant discomfort on a small scale. That's fabulous.
totally. I've done that with myself for years. I will do things that are uncomfortable to keep growing.
Yes, that's the lobster story. That's the
Yeah.
lobster. You know the lobster story with the vertebrae or the what's it called? The exoskeleton?
Mm-mm. No, I
So
don't know.
that's one of the metaphors that I heard a bajillion years ago. I don't know if it was Lisa Nichols, amazing, or any one of the motivational speakers I used to listen to. But the idea behind it is that lobsters, they what they look like. Obviously, they've got a shell, and they are designed in a really interesting way. So their exoskeleton does not grow as they grow. It stays completely still. And
Oh,
eventually their inner body, their soft underbelly, so to speak, grows to the point where they're so uncomfortable that it triggers a hormone to force them to shed their exoskeleton and then a new one grows.
oh, I love that.
Isn't that so fascinating?
Do I love
And I
that?
was like, wait, so they literally get so uncomfortable they have to evolve? Okay. Maybe we should all be lobsters.
But you know what? I think we should. But you know what? We all get uncomfortable, but we don't all evolve.
No, 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 we don't.
That's the thing. We don't all evolve.
What
Um,
do you think? What do you think is the difference between, the people? That's the real inspiration for why I'm doing this. I want to know why people like you manage to evolve. What are they saying to themselves that the people who choose not to are not saying?
that is, I believe that it's naturally in me. I don't know that it's something that, I mean, I guess you can grow into it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I've always been this way.
Really? Okay. So since you were little.
Yes, I think from the time I was little, somehow I knew that I was different and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind being different.
Mm-hmm.
So, whereas most people want to fit in,
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to fit in.
So
I,
if you were in one of those situations back then or now where everyone's sort of homogenous and you're, the bright pink, in the room full of black and white, what were you saying to yourself when that happened? Was it like, I don't like them, I like me? Like what were you saying?
I, I wasn't saying a lot, but I was quietly observing to
Mm,
see. Like I used to call myself a quiet observer.
a
I'm not
quiet observer. Okay.
quiet anymore, but I was most of my years I've been a quiet observer. So
Okay.
I didn't mind being in the room looking different. But if you talk to people that know me, they'll say, you weren't quiet. But I felt like I was quiet because
It was relative.
I, I just liked observing people and watching and trying to figure out what made them tick,
Mm,
why they did what they did, and why they wanted to be like everybody else. So if everybody was wearing, like, I literally could think of this dance I went to in college, and it was like a formal, and it was like black tie. So half the time the women are wearing black dresses. I found a burgundy dress. I was like,
I love that color.
I found a bird, and I still have an old picture with me in that dress. I always was like that. So, I mean, I think people can learn to be that way, but they
Mhm.
have to. I almost think something has to happen in your life to push you into changing.
A major event. Yeah.
Yes.
A
And
major
I
growth
heard
event.
actually today I was walking and I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was talking about when you hit rock bottom, you have nowhere else to go but up.
Mhm.
Think about some of my story. I've been at rock bottom multiple times. I didn't even tell you at one point we were homeless.
Oh my
As
gosh.
we lived in a
Wow.
motel, four kids and my mom in a motel.
How long were you homeless?
About 6, 7 months. Um, and I wasn't that young. I was like in the ninth grade, maybe.
Wow.
So I remember ninth or 10th grade. So I remember very clearly. Um, but those rock bottom moments have helped me to get to where I am and become the person that I am and to show me that I can survive.
Mm.
Know how to survive.
Yeah, you know and you have proven it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I say I'm a survivor and a hustler. And not a hustler like I hustle people, like like I know how to jump in and get it done.
In Hebrew, my mom used to say it. I don't know if it applies to hustling the way you're describing, but she would use the phrase when it had to do with anything in the kitchen with cooking. She would say zriza. Don't ask me to spell it, but basically, like when she was moving in the kitchen and she had her flow, it was boom, 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 stay out of my way. And
Yeah.
she'd be done with something so fast and it would look so gorgeous. And I picked it up. It's a skill that I got from her. And so when she passed and I would cook for my father and my sister, my dad would like look at me, go, you got your mom, you know, adzriza. Wow, eziofi adzriza. And I feel like that's a type of hustling.
Yes, it is. And that's me to a T.
Mm.
You could bring me in your kitchen. I wouldn't care what was in there. I could find something to cook because I don't
You're resourceful and
it's
you're willing to step into the new brave new world instead of step away.
so,
I
so
love that. Oh my gosh, we need more courage like that in the world.
um
Well, and that's why you're helping so many people because you're putting yourself out there, which is a scary thing to do in general.
it is, believe me. I get scared too, but I don't let that stop me.
You hear that? So she gets scared. She is a human. She's not like, a superhero mutant person, but she actually is human and gets scared too. We all do. Who is it? Who is it that said, if you're scared, do it anyway? I don't remember. I can't
Feel
remember
the
the quote.
feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Jeffers, her name is Sue
Yes,
Jeffers, wrote this book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
but that's the advice. It's hard. It's a simple sentence and it's a lifetime of work, but it's true.
But when you feel afraid and you do it anyway, you build self-respect.
Mm, I'm gonna sit with that for a second. Say that one more time.
When you're afraid and you do it anyway, you build self-respect and self-trust,
Ooh.
but self-respect.
Can you say more words about that? I love
Yeah,
that.
it's almost like you're doing something good for yourself.
Mm,
Because most of the time we're only afraid because we haven't done it before.
mhm.
So if you stop yourself from doing it, then you lose respect for yourself. When you keep holding yourself back and you regret holding yourself back. But if you
Yes.
just step over the line, it's literally like stepping to the other side of the line to do
Mhm.
the scary thing. You can straddle, but at some point you got to say either I'm going to stay in the comfort zone or I'm going to do it afraid. And when
Mhm.
you stay in the comfort zone, it is uncomfortable. The comfort zone is uncomfortable. There's nothing great about the comfort zone.
No, it's an itchy sweater.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an
Yeah,
itchy sweater. And you know what's so funny is you're literally painting this verbal picture for me and I'm visualizing myself stepping over what appears to be a cliff, right? To jump into something terrifying. And then inevitably every single time I do, I take that step and I go, "Wait, all? That's
right.
all I was afraid of? Are you kidding?" Oh my gosh, I've been scared this whole time. What a waste of my time.
Totally. Well, you know the phrase catastrophize.
Yeah.
People, everything is a catastrophe. Like, oh my God, if that happened to me, and I've had people say to me, like, about my story,
Mm,
oh my God, if that happened to me, I'd be dead.
yeah.
How did you do it?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm still here to tell the story. You would not die.
But and that's what they're doing. They're casting a spell on themselves
Yeah,
immediately and
totally.
saying it's impossible from the get-go. Even the idea of the possibility is impossible. And that's the spell that they've cast. And
Totally.
you are literally casting a totally different spell and saying, no, actually, not only can I do this, but I'm going to, and I'm going to be successful. The end.
Totally.
I
Totally.
just love it. I love
And
it.
you look scared
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, 99.9% of the time when you do it, you're like, that's all you got for me?
Yep. It turns out to be a molehill and not a mountain. Mm-hmm.
Really, there aren't that many mountains in life. I mean, now,
Mm-mm.
of course, if you get a terminal illness or something like that, that's a mountain.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that we deal with, they're not mountains, they're molehills.
There are very few mountains in life. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, there aren't.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
We
Most of
we
them are molehills.
have it in our mind. It's a mountain in our mind, right?
Yep. No, it's true. It's a mountain in our mind. Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I got to tell you, this has been so damn enjoyable. You are like the coolest, most colorful onion I've ever seen. And I wish I had 14 more hours to peel back these layers, but we both have a life. So I am going to thank you again so much. I want to just repeat back some of these amazing spells that Gail Keys Allen just cast on me right now. She reminded me that sometimes we lose friends on the journey up the real mountain and that that's okay. And that if we ever wonder, we should always use our past as evidence to know that we can survive and overcome. And I know it's not yours, but I'm using it anyway. Success is built on a pile of failures, and that there are very few mountains, and most of them are molehills. And they're really just mountains in our minds. So get to step it.
Yes, yes.
I love it. Oh, what incredible magic. Thank you so much, Gail. And please know you can come back anytime
I
to
loved it.
inspire this amazing audience. Tell folks how they can get a hold of you. I know there's women out there listening right now that are ready to dive in and fall in love with themselves and become the hustlers and get their business going. How do they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, my name, Gail Keys Allen, or LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm working on my website right now, so it's being reimagined, I'll say.
Beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to put the link to Gail's social in the show notes. And my information also in the show notes if you need it. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And yeah, keep listening, everybody. We are casting the best kind of spells. And I want to thank you all for being here. Have a great day.